And we are live. So far, so good. We've been a bit of a holding pattern here, but I'll explain that here in a second. We'll talk about it and we'll get things addressed as we get going. Hit that intro. All right, guys, Brent here back from Geek Variants. We cover all things Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, anime, gaming, Star Wars, and more. This time, Rebel Moon Part 2, the Scargiver. And like as I kind of mentioned when things started getting going, that we have kind of a holding pattern here. Just got to make sure, get Will on in. Once we get him in, we can kind of get this party ongoing for real because we'll have everybody synced up at that moment in time. We just kind of give a rough start for it. And honestly, Rebel Moon Part 1, we did not have nice things to say about Rebel Moon Part 1. Thought the story was missing a lot of substance. It jumped around a lot. But then come to find out last week that once again, rather than just releasing a good movie the first time, Zack Snyder has once again been like, hey, there's hours of unedited footage that I can release for you guys should you want to see it. Look, not every project you have to do has to be an extended cut, man. Not everything you do has to be this way. Why are you like this? Make the movie good the first time. What happened to the Zack Snyder that did 300? What happened to the Zack Snyder that did Watchmen? Where is he? The Justice League was better, but it was better in comparison to an horrid film that missed all intensive directions. And like, look, Joss Whedon, we can say a lot of things about him as a director. Everything that happened with Ray Fisher, though, on the other hand, my guy, why? What compelled you to act this way? What made you act like that? Why would you do anything of this nature to anybody or anything? It doesn't make sense, so to speak. And that's kind of like why I'm sort of confused at that. And then on top of that, now this is what Zack Snyder's third or fourth project since Justice League, and I kind of have to say he's falling into that Michael Bay and M Night Shyamalan group where it's either you only have two options with their films. It's an absolute banger from start to finish, or it's the worst thing you've ever seen in your life. And for some reason, I can't understand how someone who's allegedly as good as a director as Zack Snyder has been throughout his illustrious career can be so hot and cold. Like you would think with someone with his chops and with his talent and with his years in the business that he's been in, that things would be a little bit easier to settle, a little bit more concrete, a little bit more level for everything for all intents and purposes. And I really want to go into Rebel Moon Part 2, Scargiver, when we get that started, with a clear mind, clear motivation, clear, unbiased opinions here. So I'm just kind of venting out all this frustration now so that the moment we can get going, we can get live and we can really get things ongoing with the movie. I'll vented it out so I can come into part 2 clear intentions because sometimes part 1s are just okay. Like Star Wars A New Hope. I think it was the most okay film that's ever okayed. There's nothing about it that I thought was overwhelming. There's nothing about it I thought was underwhelming. I was just whelmed. It was straight middle of the road pedestrian. You're not like gonna get your mind blown by what you're gonna see, but you're also not gonna hate what you're gonna see. And then the first film, Rebel Moon, it was something. I'll give it that. It was something, but was it something good? No. No, it was not. And I can say that comfortably with 1000% assurance. No other ulterior feelings, no ulterior motives, no antics behind it, no shenanigans or otherwise with it. Just kind of, it was what it was. You wanted to like part one significantly more than what we ended up feeling about it. And we were critical of the film, to say the least. And the fact that part two has gone as unheralded as it is, I haven't seen a commercial, I haven't seen advertisements, I haven't seen Netflix promoting it, I haven't seen it on any other streaming services I'm following. Not a single person has been out here saying, hey, yo, Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 2 gonna blow us away. It's gonna be this, it's gonna be that. Like, in fact, I saw a trailer for it because I Googled it yesterday just to be like, they're still making this, right? This is still something that they have full intensive purposes on making. And I was like, yeah, cool. Part two's coming out. But of course, then looking back, we have Zack Snyder once again saying, hey, I've got the extended cuts in case anyone says my movies suck. That's not how things work. I just want to be clear, Zack Snyder. You don't have to make everything an extended cut. Not every movie you do has to be this way. It doesn't have to follow this pattern. It doesn't have to follow this frame. It doesn't have to follow this ideology that just in case everyone says you suck, you'd be like, well, here's 6 hours of more footage. So it's automatically better. Not everyone has 6 hours to sit down and be like, look, I'm going to give this a fair shake. It's like even with Justice League, I was shaky. But because it was supposed to be a full-on redemption for Ray Fisher, we were there. We had to be there. His character was the integral part of the plot. And then Joss Whedon was just like, Ray Fisher? Never heard him. Nope. No idea what you're talking about. And then, like, yeah, his story actually made sense, but it wasn't blowing you away good. It doesn't change your mind about the film. The main villains are very underwhelming, and there wasn't a lot of substance to really change what you had there. Like, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't something that changed your overall opinion. It's like when someone says, hey, the Justice League, you think of the animated series that was good. Justice League Unlimited. That was breathtakingly good. Both were phenomenal. And they said, hey, Zack Snyder's Justice League. How do you feel about that? What is your automatic, off rip? How do you feel? And it's just like, well, I saw it, but like, eh? Didn't really invoke any emotions or any kind of, it didn't sway you one way, it didn't sway you the other way. You're just like, it's one of those films you see and then you're like, well, that was a couple hours of my life I'm not getting back. And because this was an extended cut, because Zack Snyder, there's 6 hours of your life you're not getting back. If you're gonna make me sit down and watch an extended cut, which, hey, I have no problem doing that. In this lovely background we have here, Lord of the Rings, the extended edition. The Return of the King, that's a wallop of a movie. That's not something I recommend for the average fan of Lord of the Rings. I recommend it in terms of quality, but you need a lot of time to be able to sit down and just delve into this. It's not going to be super easy. It's not going to be super self-explanatory. Sure, it covers a lot of the gaps that there are in the originals, but the originals you could literally just be like, here you go, and people are going to still like it all the same. It's not going to change the overall reflectivity of that product. It's still a good product regularly. With the extendeds, I just think you get more information, you get more background, you get more context, which is always good for the most part, unless it's Tolkien's actual book where he could probably describe you a leaf for 5 to 6 pages in a row. You forget you're in the middle of the story, and then you have to jump on back. Because his writing style is not for everybody. Just to be clear, The Silmarillion is one of the hardest books I've ever read in my life, and I would absolutely recommend it to no one. It's so hard to read. It's like, here's the Bible. Enjoy this as a just straight read, not for any of the religious purposes or moral purposes or whatever you have for looking into something of that nature. But as a fun read, pretty low, pretty dang low. Not really a fan of it. Not really something you're gonna be like, yeah, this is great. This is the best. I'm so happy. If you want books about happiness, well, I mean, I can't start with Game of Thrones. That's depressing. I got The Godfather over there, and I got Aragon like down on the shelf here. That's a great series. The Inheritance. It's supposed to be the Inheritance trilogy, but it's a Inheritance quadrilogy. That's something worth looking at. That's something great to read. Was the movie hot garbage? Yeah, Aragon was hot garbage. But Disney, in their defense, looks like they're going to be making a whole new thing to fix that, to remedy that. They're going to give us a TV series set sort of in the style of Game of Thrones. Obviously, the nature of Aragon is entirely different than Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, it's all about family in many, many contexts. Aragon, all about learning how to embrace who you are as a person and bring out your best qualities while not pretending to be somebody else. See, there's a little bit of a difference here. There's so much darkness in this series, but it's an amazing read. Sure, sometimes our boy George R. R. Martin really doesn't know how to separate dialogue and thoughts as well as he would like him to. But the story and the symbolism itself, A plus. Really dark though. Aragon can get a little detailed with the background in ways that you really just aren't feeling a lot of the time. But for all intensive purposes, things can be construed easily to a younger viewer. It's supposed to be intended for basically, I want to say 10-year-old to probably 10-year-old and up would be where I put the Aragon series, because there is some gore, there is some dark magic. The Razak are they're a thing. Definitely something that lived rent free in my mind is Nightmare Fuel for a long time. Just kind of like this Rebel Moon series could live in my head as Nightmare Fuel for a while, because you, the viewer, was like, hey, we want to see Rebel Moon Part 1. We want to have a review on it. By all means. Didn't realize when we initially agreed that this was going to be a multiple part series. But who would we be as content creators if we only covered Part 1 and then said, hey, Part 2, you're out because we don't want to spend that time or that energy doing this. So we're going to go ahead here in a little bit and we'll get Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, started. It'll be off screen, just so everyone's aware. Just do obvious copyright laws and entitlement laws and all that good stuff. All rights, all that good stuff belongs to Netflix. We are not Netflix. We did not ask Netflix's permission to share it on our screen or show it to the audience, so to speak. Nothing we can do with that. Not going to be those people. We're not going to go steal other people's content. That's not what we're about here at Geek Variants. We like covering all things Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, anime, gaming, Star Wars, and more. And this would be and more category, which and more is usually like The Boys we'll have covered. House of the Dragons, Season 2 we'll have covered. Rings of Power, which is rumored to be coming back in August. We'll have that covered as well. Star Wars The Acolyte, obviously within the Star Wars umbrella, have that covered. The Witcher would also be something that would fall into the category of other, usually, by all intents and purposes, will be labeled or framed as having a popular series that the fans seem really, really excited for, that we want to take a look at it ourselves. Usually, especially if it's like a season 1 of something. I'm really interested in diving into newer series like we did Fiona and Cake, and you guys were here for it. Adventure Time is probably one of my favorite cartoon series all-time period. In fact, we actually have a video on that covering our favorite all-time series. It became a consensus decision because I am the youngest of the group and there is a significant age gap between me and the next oldest person. Adventure Time and like SpongeBob and that kind of stuff doesn't really get the same amount of love as, say, the Justice League. But again, the Justice League I would still say is overall better. Like, let's be real here. DC's animated department back in the 90s and early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s whoever was in charge and whoever was doing those things for DC, yo, you were you were doing the Lord's work in only so many words and only so many forms and so many perspectives. Because Batman the Anime Series, Teen Titans, Justice League, Justice League Unlimited, just to name a few, and we still didn't even touch on Superman, which was actually a good series. I just don't care because the Big Blue Boy Scout is boring for me. Okay, he is God who won't play God. That is boring. You know who is God that does play God? Homelander. He's exciting. He's a monster, but he's exciting. Superman could do so many things to so many people so easily. There's the Injustice storyline, and that covers that. If you've ever played that game series or read that comic line, by all means, read it. It's good. It's fantastic. It's something that I believe you guys could really, really enjoy and have a great time covering and just really seeing what the Big Blue Boy Scout can do when given the opportunity to shine. Like you took morals off Superman, unshackled him, and let him be who he needs to be. There, sure, Kingdom Come Deliverance Superman is also amazing. That being said, it still doesn't do nearly as much for me. And I know, Superman is smart. He's not dumb by any means. Never going down that road. He's just the broken character of broken characters of broken characters. That doesn't excite me all that much. My favorite character of all time, of anything, is Vegeta. And people are like, how can you say a Dragon Ball Z character is not broken? Well, if you follow the series, you know he's kind of good at about two things. Talking about being the Prince of all Saiyans and losing to major villains all the time. To the point it's almost infuriating. But by the same token, he shows more heart, more character, more determination, and the results of hard work, while also slowly going from a monster who blew up planets for fun to someone who cherished a planet so much he was willing to give his life to protect his wife and his son. That's good storytelling. And sure, I know Akira Toriyama, may he rest in glorious peace, the amazing writer and human being that he was, that he never gave Vegeta a W because he didn't really like him. Piccolo was his favorite character to write. Piccolo was his favorite character to cover. That was where he put his time, energy, and effort into. And that was something that clearly reflected on the character because Piccolo is very interesting. He's very nuanced. He's got a lot of good emotions. He's got a lot of good feelings. He's got a lot of thought behind him. He's not just like a Goku where he just does things. And sometimes you're concerned why he does things. Like, remember the time Goku decided it would be fun to start a tournament that put the entire fate of the entire universe that they were in on the line because he wanted to, quote unquote, fight strong guys. My guy, what have you been doing these last couple years? You literally supposedly retired at the end of Dragon Ball Z, come back in Super, you're hanging out as a farmer, and then you get bored of having the everyday man's job, and now you want to put everybody you love and care about at risk because you're bored. That's monstrous. That's heinous. That is stupid beyond stupid. It just doesn't make a lick of sense. It's why the character is so frustrating. It's like when you see fans online arguing Goku versus this, or you go Superman versus this. Those arguments are some of the silliest things you can spend your time, energy, or effort upon, in my opinion. And I think they're so dang silly because you're literally yelling and advocating for a comic or a character that was created that you yourself have no invested interest in aside from your own personal bias. So therefore, trying to use your personal bias on the internet, have you tried doing that? Just creatively or collectively, just in any form or fashion. Have you tried arguing with personal bias online? It's like trying to hold water in your bare hands. Everything slips through your fingers and you just look silly at the end of it. It serves no rhyme or reason because how many times you argue with something online and someone changed their opinion to agree with you? Asking for a friend here because I've argued in Geek Variants. I've argued in the chat thread with people who like stuff that I didn't. I argued because I wanted to see their opinion. I want to see what they're coming across as. And at the end of everything, I agreed they had a valid point. I didn't agree with their point, but it made perfect sense. We were arguing about the Star Wars sequel trilogy for all intents and purposes. And when the initial comment was made, I was like, how dare you? You don't really understand the lore. You don't know what's going on. There's no way your comment could have any validity what was going on. And the longer we argued and the longer we went back and forth, I'm like, that's a really good point. That makes a lot of sense. When you phrase it like that, I can see the perspective, but this scene here made me feel like this because of this. And by the end, we weren't really arguing with each other. We were just explaining what was going on. And I was like, agree to disagree. But we went 40 or 50 comments of just not name calling, by the way, but having a discussion. And that's something at Geek Variants that I absolutely love and adore about this channel. We're here to have dialogues, here to have those constructive moments. We're not here for gatekeeping. We're not here for limiting people's entertainment. We're not here for limiting people's ideologies or beliefs. Sure, sometimes people can say crazy off the wall things. You know who also says crazy off the wall things from time to time? Well, you just hit live and let things play out as they may. Hey, it's me, Brent from Geek Variants. I'm not always right, nor would I ever pretend to be. There are certain subjects where I believe I'll be more likely to be right, but also saying I'm infallible that'd be silly. I've been wrong about Star Wars. I have Star Wars here. I have Star Wars there. There's Star Wars up there. I have Jujutsu Kaisen stuff about here that I'm very passionate about. I just finished book 22 because it just came out in English. I want to say 2 or 3 days ago. Finally finished. I finally got the correct copy. There was a mishap with the mail delivery, but finally got it. Finally read it. Loved it. I'm wrong about that all the time. In fact, I'm probably not even the most right person about this particular fandom in my own household. Marvel, which is where my head is currently, still learning about it. Tons of stuff to cover, tons of comic lines, tons of lore, tons of characters. Definitely not infallible in any way, shape, or form pertaining to that. Could be wrong many, many times. And then on top of that, we still have Lord of the Rings. Very passionate about it. Am I wrong about it? Yes. Especially you guys. You were gunning for me last time Rings of Power was out. People wanted me offline in only so many words because of my take with Rings of Power. And my take with Rings of Power is this. I enjoyed it. It's not book accurate. They didn't have the rights to cover what they needed to in order to make that show work. And they still went ahead and did it anyway. So for us as fans to say, hey, you need to give us that book in its entirety. And you need it to be exactly the way that Tolkien had it. They couldn't legally do that. So for us as fans to tell them, hey, this has to be exactly that way, it's a little bit silly. It's like going to a baseball game and asking why no one scored a touchdown. It's not how that works in this sport. It's not how things are done. And as much as people disliked it, Rings of Power had a lot going for it. The story was not bad. I enjoyed what we had. It was a fresh take on Middle Earth. I love Peter Jackson, but I've seen Peter Jackson 6 times now. The Lord of the Rings trilogy, the original, is one of the greatest trilogies all time, period, end of story. That's my opinion on it. I'll die on that hill. And honestly, then came The Hobbit. And sure, he wasn't originally supposed to do it. It was supposed to be Guillermo del Toro, but he couldn't due to a scheduling conflict. So Peter had to be rushed in and had to make things go a little bit faster than anticipated. And the product suffered. Saying. And then with everything involving Peter Jackson, just having to come back and did that, kind of left an interesting taste in my mouth, especially because of the changes that he made with the books he did have the rights to. Didn't make sense. Legolas wasn't supposed to be a key player here. Not at all. There's not supposed to be a dwarf elf love interest. So that kind of threw a thorn in things, and then seeing him do Rings of Power, I feel would have been interesting. And to have to kind of go over like where we're at with Middle Earth and have him rehash things. So we're just kind of spitballing here. If anyone in chat wanted Lord of the Rings to come back, the only thing I would have asked is that they consulted with him about certain aspects. While he's not J.R.R. Tolkien, and just so everyone is 1000% clear, no one can speak for Tolkien. He's gone. So for the book thumpers who came at me, I appreciate your energy. I appreciate your vibes, your passion for the anything. Yeah, apologies. Just getting some things behind the scene typed in real quick. But with all intensive purposes that we had ongoing here for Middle Earth, the series that knew and loved. And again, apologies, we aren't diving into the Netflix series part 2 Scargiver for Rebel Moon. Seems to be some technical difficulty on my side getting into the account necessary for us to watch. Because again, we pay for everything. We don't pirate anything. We're not those kinds of people. So we do things by the book. And because I don't have access to the account for whatever reason, I think there's just some weird thing that took place. I'm just kind of stuck in this loop of, well, I said I'd be live at 6. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm here. I'm live 6 Pacific Standard Time. We've been spitballing here for 28 minutes. I'm hoping and praying that this gets fixed as soon as possible for everyone who's here with us. So definitely just trying to cover all the bases here, get everything fixed as soon as we can. And then, of course, the necessary individuals who are in charge of the account can't get a hold of because, life's busy. We're a growing and budding channel, but at the same time, we're not one of those channels where like, hey, we have a dedicated mod, we have a dedicated account manager, we have a dedicated this, we got a dedicated that, we have people set up in certain positions. It's a 3-man operation. One of them's out busy at the moment, and the other one's also busy at the moment. The third member, hey, he's wearing a Count Chocula shirt, which, by the way, phenomenal cereal. Not sponsored. Would love to be, though, because I could eat that cereal year round. But, just trying to make sure we're providing all the best content that possibly can provide for you, the viewer, just because we care more about you than necessarily we care about what else we have going on. We got busy lives, but at the same time, that's no reason for us to sit here and be like, well, we've given a certain modicum of content, so now we don't have to do anything with it. So now we're growing substantially faster than any one of us could have predicted or anyone else could have even hoped, thanks to you, the viewer, everyone who hit the subscribe button, everyone who hit the who can get to help make this possible. It's all literally because of you. Without you, we would have nothing. And bottom of my heart, and genuinely, thank you for caring about Geek Variants is something that we love and want to share with the viewers. The like, and hopefully this Rebel Moon thing is going to be worth it all in the end. Because needs to be a lot of fuss with it. So, like I was saying, Rings of Power, you guys are gunning for me. You wanted me out of here. You said I had no valid opinion, no valid point of view, and hey, in circumstances where kind of went back and forth, I understood your points. I understood why they were the way they were, but I also understood that they're only able to do so many things. Offer. One second. Apologies. There we go. So got that squared away. Working on getting it squared away. The person who's usually handling the accounts is kind of like taking a creative look. So we'll be able to at least have something for you guys so we can get this work done. So then we'll be able to put these amazing money show on. Is that one? Okay. For the come on. There's that. We're almost done, folks. Thank you so much for your patience. I know we are 30 plus minutes late, and that is, hey, my fault. I thought this was all squared away going into it because we had the whole dialogue of we'll definitely have this covered. Okay. Okay, 1 second. We are almost done. Ooh. Put this over here, for the membership verification, just to make sure. It's been a lovely song and dance being able to try and entertain you guys and then figure out what's going on in the back end of things. We should have had this figured out. There's not an excuse in my mind to why this wasn't addressed. So thank you so much for your patience involving that. Oop, there's that. This one here. Yep. Okay. Yes. Yep. Looks like we're almost in. Hey, look at that. Watch parts 1 and 2 now. Because like it's been so long, truthfully, since I covered anything on Netflix. I think the last time I covered anything Netflix related, was it Avatar? It might have been Avatar. Probably had to be yes, it was the live action Avatar was the last time we covered anything for you guys. So we had that going. And then the time before that would have been The Witcher. Because Netflix, has been kind of hit and miss as far as qualities of shows. Amazon has been red hot. There hasn't been a single show on their service where I'm like, yo, this is questionable. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get the series started. Thank you so much for your patience. Let's start part 2 Scargiver. I got pen and paper nearby. Music scared the crud out of me. So that's on me. 2-hour film. Looks like it's more like an hour 50 because the credits pick in at that point. Let's get this going. Watching the movie now. Let's say the music is at least good for this. That part I can at least be comfortable with. I love how that trick always works. There's our boy. Odin. I love how they're recapping part 1 like it wasn't literally only 4 months ago. Like, not necessary. If we liked what you gave us, we would have kept going fine. They're giving us a full recap, huh? Or so they thought. Oh my gosh. We went with the cheesiest cliche on this, huh? So they're turning him into a robot just to keep things going. Chrysalis. And we're bringing up Francis. His name's not Francis, but Admiral Noble. The worst haircut in the history of haircuts. Didn't share his name, just Adam wants me. Okay, weird already. Definitely going a lot of different places with this. She is known as the Scargiver. He looks like he got a fight with Spider-Man in space. It is very over the top to start. I'm gonna preface that. but also trying to tell the difference between what is CGI and what isn't is probably my biggest struggle at the moment. They did a pretty good job with the realistic side of the props. So not hating on that. Not hating on that. And I'm not going to hate on Anthony Hopkins giving him this over the top dialogue too much. The dialogue itself could use work. Did we finally find a shirt for the big guy? Okay. They have a floating pyramid of what? Well, I think it's a bit of a problem. But again, oh, okay. Anthony Hopkins' robot is now more of their god than anything else. I'm sure he will be important as we move forward because he wouldn't hire Anthony Hopkins. I'm sure he's not cheap or something like that. See, overall, it's not a terrible cast. Nope, they didn't find a shirt for the big guy yet. Mm. But then this guy shows up and gives the realness. Hooray! Everyone's good times are gone. Fantastic. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Like, there's nothing wrong with the cast. This dialogue needs to improve. Everyone is depressed by working hard, which, speech wasn't exactly uplifting, but it's not terrible either. So far, slightly better start than part one. Give them that. There's a lot of exposition for how much little time they spent in world building. Spending a lot of time on the romance. Is that really the time for that? I like the most passionless romance they're trying to make me buy. I love how he's physically pulling away from her as she's opening up to him. Oh, I see you in there. I see you, Tony. I see you. I see you. Hoping this movie is good. Hoping. Will it? Yeah, you're right. I see a movie. That's all I see. This is so hard to try to be a mix of Star Wars and Dune. I don't think it's enough time trying to be itself. Mm-mm. Always got to worry about your space monarchy. Mm-mm-mm. That is the most over the top thing I've seen in a long time. Musicians covered by hoods. Why? The ex like the thrill of it, the challenge of it. The war machine takes over the empire. They're trying to mimic the whole Caesar stabbing. Yeah, they're really desperately trying to make you think of the Roman Empire. I don't know where he picked up that accent. God dang. How is like a 10-year-old say, I forgive you for killing me, but we have 10-year-olds like literally falling apart and like in local grocery stores. Make it make sense. And this is so over the top. Oh my god. And no one lets someone escape from a situation like this. And even though we had a dreadnought ship, we didn't shoot yours down. Mm. The convenience of logic in certain shows and movies is painstaking. It looked like he was straight up sleeping, like ignoring her. I'm not a fan of the mornings either, so I get that. Seeing villages like this just makes me want to play Skyrim. This is easily the most physical labor some of these actors will probably ever do. Yeah, the soldiers fall in love with the local town girl. That point has never been written into anything except every military movie just about out there. I guess Noble's feeling better. Wow, a toga. Also trying to dress into the Roman Empire. This plot is hollow. So painfully hollow. Yes, Zack Snyder, we get it. You like slow motion. It's entirely unnecessary. Why's this kid always so fascinated with this Asian lady? She, she's not the kind of person you'd want to mess with. She's super cool, but like, got him props for at least trying on that one. Don't get the purpose of this. Mm-hmm. Someone's been doing their P90X. All right. Hey, they finally gave that guy a shirt that fits. Like 4 hours into these movies. You seem super uncomfortable with any level of kindness. Look, if they're doing all this right now after day one, I'm just gonna literally be like, I'm exhausted. Can we expedite this? I got rest to get to. It's so touching, isn't it, guys? They're smiling, laughing, and loving way too much. I mean, if you're gonna guess you're gonna die in 3 or 5 days, so I guess party it up while you can. I would be conserving my energy to finish the job. We all stopped because one guy started sighing. Still got that robot just watching over the town, not necessarily doing anything, but not causing anything bad to happen. Does it become wild for all intents and purposes? So they're going to physically exhaust themselves only to have to circle back and fix everything. My goodness, they're really risking it all here. That. Yeah. I need to get me one of those. Looks fun. But again, everyone has a plan until you're either getting punched in the face or getting shot at. So let's see how well their training holds. This robot is just not helping. He's just sitting on the mountain doing nothing. Like what even is your purpose here? Like what are you up to? What even is the general purpose of this? They could try and use that like a turret at worst. At best, I don't know. Okay. And trying to paint Belisarius as this overwhelming, overbearing, all powerful, BA, but he's lacking all substance necessary of a main villain. Not a one. I know they're trying to establish Belisarius right now, but all they're establishing is a whole lot of notes for me. And they brought back Ray Fisher for this, so that's cool. Because he was a highlight of the last film. She had a family before. She was a mom. Her backstory is supposed to be heartbreaking, so let's see what we got. Mm-mm-mm. Are those her real arms, or are those like robotic arms that you just like attach over your own? Oh my gosh. Ow. Someone's a lot like a lightsaber where it cauterizes as it cuts. Magic arms. Good actor. Crying over a scene where there's like literally nothing tragic going on. He has a hippogriff? That's cool. That is a cool shot. I'm giving him that one. I don't know why they're like a weird Renaissance thing on them. She's just gonna eat herself over the building. Yep, full Game of Thrones. That's a cool shot. That is a cool shot. I'm giving them that. Now I'm sure somebody will try and keep up that bloodline there, buddy. I'm sure there's gonna be somebody. What's left of it. And Gunner's like, I stubbed my toe today. It made me sad. This is like the most sombering thing you can do the day before you're about to die with all these people. She's a war orphan. She has a love interest. $10 right now. Her love interest is gonna die. It's gonna further motivate her, and for somehow, in some way, we're gonna get like a part 3 to avenge him because that's necessary. No, the dropship will save somebody. Come on. Oh, hell, there we go. The robot finally showed himself. Is he going to do something? Man, this movie's really milking it right now. Like, there needs to be something to propel this plot forward. Anything to propel this plot forward right now. Right now, it is just not it. And it's a great cast. And some of these shots and the scenes, like the visuals, really, really well done. To make a movie really, really good, you need substance. And they're trying to do 12 different things when they just need to do 3 or 4 things really, really well. So, little perplexed with this at this moment. Hey, look, you guys are about to make some new friends. And it's Dreadnought, so party's about to get started. They should have made everyone some kind of armor. Let the party begin. The final moment of action. And don't get me wrong, it didn't take an hour and a half to get this far in the movie, but it did take 57 minutes for me to be like, hey, look, this is interesting. So let's just put that out there. It is very weird seeing like a general just suit and tie it, not dressed like everybody else, but also he was in a toga like 30 minutes prior. So I don't know. Some of the costumes have made sense. Some you just kind of shake your head. Is she gonna like shave her head as like a rebirth thing of who she is? Yeah, oh my god, we're really doing a cutting a hair montage. All right. Following a lot of cliches here. Only one of them seems to be leaking fuel. I think that seems to be a problem. No, the movie is gonna finally get interesting. So they put their best fighter in where the women and children are gonna be, which is smart. The power couple at the front of the line, which means he's going to die. She's like, I killed you, but didn't. Interesting, they had him shave his face for this scene when she shaved her head for this. Mm-mm-mm. Hmm. This is uh hour plus. At this point, it would be more advantageous to probably have a solo recap based upon where we're in, because you could jump in it probably at this point, and it's how would I put this? Missing some substance here. We're about to get to the action, though. There've been some lovely cinematics, and the actors and actresses are doing a great job. But the route that's necessary to be brought up to elevate this film thus far could use some work. There's a lot of work to be done. on Zack Snyder's part for his filmmaking career, especially based upon his last few performances. And I really wanted to like this because I mean it's space fantasy. How could that not be in my wheelhouse? That wasn't even believable. Oh, that's a good shot. That was a fantastic military plan. But again, that guy just won't die. I thought Cora was going to abandon everybody and everything. Like she was going to be some kind of hero, and like Noble's going to keep his word after saying like this whole film not to trust them. Like so far, so good with the battle plan. That tactic's at least doing something, but the rest of it could be using some work. Did he really just superhero landing that? Wow. The general has single-handedly wiped out the village down below. This one farmer is going to solo-handedly like throw a grenade in there. Yep, grenade. That's going to work. The best line in the whole stinking movie is from an unnamed side character whose eyes we don't even get to see. And now we're doing once again the over the top slow mo, but action scenes make sense to do stuff like this. So you don't miss things as opposed to like, we're harvesting some grain. Let's go slow mo so that we can see every single speck of grain. Oh, get it. That was a heck of a shot. Now, oh wow, good fighter, aren't you? That gun's going to be important moving forward. You have a rifle. Why are you running? You literally. I understand some people want a more personal fight, but you had a weapon. He wasn't looking at you. He's not wearing a helmet. This is outrageous. I don't know why you would like take his legs out from under him there as opposed to just kicking him straight out. But I mean, what do I know? I guess civilian life. Mm-mm. Gunner, I'm gonna need you to pull it together. We're in the middle of a mission right now. That's cool. That's something that Star Wars should have, but doesn't. But all right. Rest of the ground forces are now versus Jimon Hansu. Good luck. He has been the star of this film by night and day. This is like a small, like Scandinavian village versus a militaristic empire. No armor, but he's got two axes. All right, have fun with that. Oh, she just lost her hand. That's a problem. That was a strong backhand. Noble right now, I would say, is 75% winning at worst. It's like civilians just can't do this style of fighting versus trained military minds who've been doing this on a full scale bloodbath army for at least several years now. Nope, fireman carry, hip toss. Like if I was one of the villagers, I'd be like, I'm sorry, but I'm not really all that fond of core at this point. Oh. Oh, okay. That shout out to the medical team for just doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then they're gonna murder everybody on the elevator. And there goes Oracle. We're gonna lose somebody. That kid's got guts. I mean, look, I'm shocked anyone went in with any hope. So I tried. I tried so much. Spent like a half hour saying I'm not going to judge it immediately, but I'm judging it. That's where we're at. Can't wait to give a full review on this. Going to have some things to say. Going to have some things to say. This boy is crying over the woman he met 3 days ago. I just want everyone to remember that. This isn't a Disney film. I've known you for 3 days. Oh my gosh, I'm going to cry over you now, kind of thing. Like, that's that's silly. It's not even like 3 days in the trenches. It's like, hey, we started fighting an hour ago. Things didn't go good. And they spent so much time focused on her, they kind of knew something was going to happen to her or Gunner. And I'm still definitely in team camp where Gunner is going to die. Just because he doesn't really move the plot forward, and he would be the thing that would propel our heroine to really, keep her going now instead of just for clearing her name. Now she wants vengeance. So we'll have to see where that road goes. If they kill Jimon or Tark, then I'm really gonna be feeling a kind of way about this. He's really a high kick guy. So based on where I'm at, probably half hour left of movie. Still time to turn things around, but not not as positive on this I would like to be. They won the ground battle against a small portion of the army. Oh, just kidding. And here comes the mechs. They lost. Everybody did. Nah, they're not gonna write it like this, but another major character is gonna end up dying. That's intense. Hmm. Well, good feelings gone, happy feelings up. Well, the medics were just doing their jobs. But now they'd have to fix and save themselves, and well, I can't. Hmm. I'll be waiting for you is code for you're not going to see me again. I'm going to die in this next scene. I'm calling you out, Gunner. You are dying. All basic laws of film writing decree you have to die to move this character forward because it's so blatantly obvious. It's not even like a good storytelling piece. What the village needs is for the robot outside the village to go take out the other mech that's now wrecking everyone. Oh, that's a big gun. But it's not big enough. It's not getting through the armor. Because what they're definitely trying to do is sink this dreadnought. Seems to be the move at this time. And every single shot of the main character has to be her in a tank top. But at this point, based upon, oh, that's a cool design of the ship. I'm assuming that it's its core, like its heart, where everything is funneled into one spot. Oh, that's gone. Getting major props for being like a cool character and a tough character. But why they waited till like the very late portion of this film to show this? It's nuts. Go old man. Interesting to see how the tank warfare for this space battle's going. Oh, there's the big gun I was waiting for him to use. Yeah, that'll do it. Blow out your eardrums and probably knock you out. Why is this one guy here? Oh, that guy's on fire. Well, he gets to meet his best friend in battle. So, with all, I don't know how I missed with all the Roman names starting to go as many Roman styles as they did. All of this. Noble's dealing with his first bit of a back talk. I wouldn't have been waiting for this little side conversation. Be like, Big Boss said, "Make planet go bye bye." It's like that's such a simple instruction. That guy's like, I don't need to be told. I'll just go. Although, like, I did take my sword, so that's kind of lame. Everyone be on high alert. Stands with their back directly towards the engine room. Military strategy. All the main characters doing their heroic last stand to try and somehow sneak out a W in some form or fashion. This guy has not worn armor the entirety of the film, not hit once. Meanwhile, every heavy powered tank out there destroyed. And also, he's the biggest dude, and he's standing tall in a trench battle, and no one's been like, hit me, hit me. So, a little bit of a plot convenience here. Little bit of plot convenience as far as this movie is concerned thus far. Almost done with it, and then we'll have a full recap video on the YouTube as well. Thus far, it's been a interesting time. Are those two gonna like fall in love like right here, right now? Okay, cool. They're just war buddies who are just like, I'm okay with dying. Are you okay with dying? Yep. Storm it together. That's can okay. This scene better be lit because Anthony Hopkins' character has finally resurfaced in the middle of the battle as the decommissioned war robot from their army. Because he's smoking people right now. The fact he wasn't helping sooner is now more of a glaring issue than it was. But I mean, you can't have an epic late arrival entrance scene if you're there in moment one, messing everybody up. So Anthony Hopkins signed on probably just to have that one super metal moment. That cape is cool. That's a good shot. That's a screen grab from the film right there. That's a thumbnail you can make out of that. It took an hour and 30 minutes to make one, but that's something. That's not bad. Also, naming your ship Sword of the King is kind of cool. Give them a little bit on that one. Elevator fight scene. Captain America Civil War, anybody? Not Civil War, Winter Soldier. Apologies. The fact no one shot out of those 20 guys is interesting. The electro blades are an interesting touch. I was gonna say if this film was overall better, I think the sales on the electro blades themselves would be enough to warrant the rest of these theatrics. The village is about to be a nice little crater. I love how he knew exactly where to look. And how that guy didn't hear those people show up. Plot convenience. Imagination. Because the engines need to blow up like in the next 5-10 seconds. In fact, no one looked at that before now. Oh. You had like 8 men in the room and no one saw the grenade stuck to the engine. Well, that was a creative. Like, yeah, no one saw grenades. It's just grenades stuck on there. Why? It's literally like right here with the camera. It's a dead look. It wasn't even remotely hidden. Like you're like, oh, I caught in a corner here. I stuck it under this thing here. Were they not aware that Cora's plan was to end up here? Yep, there he is. I called it. I called that. Her love interest will die. Who would have thought it? To propel her forward for the third movie that I'm not asking for at all. A sliding electro blade fight. That's what we're doing now. I know stunts are supposed to be pushing the edge of what is reality and what things are capable of, but sometimes you need to ask whether or not you should do these things. Oh, you lost it. Bye. Bye, guy we forgot existed till that second. That's gonna hurt. Oh, if he had just done a leg drop into her, like right in her core, solar plex, he could have literally knocked the wind out of her and or been close to paralyzing her by having that much damage on her spine, but instead to just softly cushion it. I understand for some reasons you can't try and paralyze someone. Not rooting for that, but you know, if you are this admiral anti-noble, maybe just maybe be a little more menacing here. The stab in the back from the dying love interest. Which franchises have we not seen this from would make it um, more relevant? Oh, well, don't get ahead of yourself. And she's gonna find a ship. They're gonna get out of here. He's gonna die in her arms, and then they're gonna swear revenge on Belisarius for causing all this to happen. And that will be the part 3. It's like, and they're gonna somehow survive all the falling shrapnel, but build up the suspense. Because I feel like gravity on this planet should be shoving this spaceship down at as much velocity as possible, and the sheer explosion and dust cloud from this should be large enough that the village should get overrun by it. But hey, who needs physics? We're in space. Oh, someone lost a house. Probably some innocents were in there and just went boop. She is epic. I am giving her that. Great heroine. And she's not a heroine just because she's just lucky. She's a heroine because she's super talented, super smart, well trained. And the backstory supports that. So that part, good job. Stay with me. He was doing absolutely fine. And then, now the adrenaline's worn up, now he's succumbing to his injury. They didn't even show us the wound. The first time he say "I love you" says you're dying. They're late. So, someone tell me they're late because they're late. Anthony Hopkins' robot did like 3 cool things, and then was just like, I'm gonna stand in this burning wreckage so I can look cool in the shot. Yeah, that is the late crew. They weren't even mentioned this whole film. Not even mentioned once. The fact that they just showed up here is not. This is like, oh, I'm just another Lord of the Rings reference. I give up. I'm not going to keep comparing one of the greatest film trilogies of all time to this. Can't even. They just played dominoes with spaceships. Dude just gets the girl. There you go. Don't make them a love interest. They're just good friends. They were completely out of sync there. Guys, Oracle died. Anybody? She's laying dead in the barn in the back. No, we'll worry about that later. Really, over on this planet, you still have, Bartholomeus. Bartholomeus? Bartholomeus? I don't even remember his name. The really underwhelming villain whose accent I could not place if I needed to, and I need to. I still feel like it'd be hilarious. Like you have one of these. Thank you, thank you. And one of these random people as they're dying just a really long, loud fart just to ruin the scene. I think it would be epic just to have that once in an outtake. Just me though. By burning their bodies on this unmarked dump in the middle of space. Like nothing happened. I think that's what they were doing. Yeah, they killed Ray Fisher. I forgot about that. He's like, dude, this isn't about you. It's about those that have fallen. Please, shut up. This is so disrespectful to have trying to have your moment right now. Get a better plot. Find a new film. Has that tattoo always been there? Has he always had that neck tat? Hey, Jimmy. Why'd you bring the deer horns? All right, Anthony Hopkins, thanks. There's going to be a third part. Bah. They're crying because their friends are dead. I'm internally crying because there's going to be a part 3. My God. Who wrote this hunk of garbage? Screenplay by Zack Snyder, story by Zack Snyder. Wow. Who could have called that one? Couldn't have written his way out of a paper bag. Life depended on it. Continues to be nothing but a colossal disappointment. So in summary, I didn't like it. What specifically I didn't like about it, you guys will have to do me a favor. Hit that lovely subscribe button or follow if you're over on Twitch. But the video recap will be over on YouTube. My brain is so baffled by what I just saw, I can't put a sentence together. That you can follow along. The video will be out shortly. Going to get my main man Will in here to help me get my thoughts focused and together. So we'll open up another thing, do the video there. Should be up probably within the next half hour or so. Thank you guys so much for checking out the live stream of part 2 of the Scargiver. Apologies on my part for not getting in on this sooner. That's my bad on my end. I'll see you guys in the next one.